Hey everybody, AZ Plant Reviews here, and today I wanted to talk about the Mexican fan palm, or the Washingtonia robusta. Here's a couple adult examples, and I'll have a clip of a younger one, so you can get a closer look at the petioles and the spikes that grow on it and stuff like that. So this right here is one of the iconic desert landscaping items, and it has a lot of pluses, especially in its aesthetics, and also a lot of drawbacks. So let's talk about it a little bit. First of all, it's super tall, really cool looking, one of the icons of the desert in desert landscaping and stuff like that. It's really cool. When people think of a desert secondary to cacti, they probably think of palm trees, and boom, there you go. Additionally, they are relatively low water once they get established, but there's a lot of caveats to this. It needs to have enough space for its root system to grow. And most of the time, these are not planted in great spots. You'll see them a lot of the times in the medians of roads, or like anywhere too close to a road is not a great spot for the long-term survival of these things, because they can reach up to like 200 years old if they're healthy and allowed to grow to their fullest potential. But that's not usually what ends up happening. Usually their lifespans are cut short by bad landscaping practices and just being planted in the wrong spot. So keep that in mind. Now, if you look back at this adult one up here, if you look at all that fluffy stuff going along, that's what's called the tree skirt. This one has been, those two have been trimmed relatively regularly, but for whatever reason, the one on the left has had more of its old skirty elements shear off over time in the middle for some reason. I don't know. But that's where a lot of the problem comes about in these palm trees. And the same goes for other palm species too. Now, first of all, creatures like to live in those. Like scorpions like to make nests in there. Rattlesnakes like to make nests in there. Pack rats, boring beetles, and their worm-like larvae, they like to make nests in there. And so there's a whole bunch of creatures that could get involved. And so usually for that and for the aesthetic, homeowners and property managers, etc., will have landscaping companies come out and basically shave those tree skirts, right? Now, you have to be careful when you're shearing these things, because if you do it wrong, if you shave too close and do it too often or do it at the wrong time of year, which ends up being most of the time for the landscaping industry, then it can impact the immune health of the plant, and it can make it more likely to have those borer beetles actually cause harmful impacts to the tree and eventually lead to its death. And that happens a lot. I've been witnessing more and more palm trees that a couple years ago were, in their prime, nowhere near the end of their lifespans, that are just now dead because they got shaved and also because they got trimmed incorrectly. Now, usually when you're trimming these palms, a guideline that usually goes around is that you don't want the palm tree to have an acute angle when you're trimming them. Really, you don't want them to be anything more than parallel to the ground, right? You want the lowest leaves of the palm tree to be hanging down a little bit so that it reaches a parallel angle with the surface of the earth. A little bit higher than that is tolerable, but when you start seeing these palm trees get shaved and then trimmed, all their fronds get trimmed until there's just little nubs of life up at the top, that is just not good. And especially since that usually happens when it's already hot out, after the dates have been grown and picked off there before the seeds can fall off, that will just greatly like increase the palm tree's odds of having issues during the summer. So you shouldn't do that. You should not let that happen, and you definitely should not suggest that happen. I know it seems more efficient, right? You say like, oh, well, if they just trim it all the way up to the top right now, then I only have to have this happen once a year. Yeah, well, I mean, yes, but at the same time, that's drastically decreasing the amount of years that palm tree will exist for. So if you want the palm tree to be long lasting and healthy and robust and actually good looking in even the medium term or even the short term, depending on how bad these summers are, you should definitely have someone trim it the proper way, and that can be rare to find sometimes. So keep that in mind. So the shearing of the skirt, there's really no winning, right? It's either you leave it totally unkempt and then tons of creatures start infesting it to the point where it starts like interfering with your daily life, or you could shave it so much that you effectively kill the palm tree. So there's a lot of issues that could happen there. And of course, the ones that are in the median are already off to a little bit of a disadvantage. This little baby one that I've been showing in these clips is in a compromised situation already because there's an entire like tree right next to it. So there's gonna have to be a decision made over which one stays and which ones goes in the near future. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. This is a cute little young fan palm example, but the fact that it's right next to that tree is, it's a recipe for a decision's gonna have to be made soon with that. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah. Also, watch out the fronds on the petiole, the branches of the fronds. You see those big old spikes? Those spikes are extremely painful. They are jagged and they are firm spikes that will really slice you open if you're not careful. So you need to be extremely careful when dealing with these things. Wear gloves. Don't let one fall on you from above, because if it has those spikes and it falls on you from above, then you're definitely in trouble. So there's a lot of benefits and there's a lot of drawbacks. It's really cool looking, but there's a lot of caveats and its maintenance when it gets to its adult size. That really, I can't give it any higher than say like a 7 out of 10. If you want to talk about more details with me, we could do so in the comments, but I'm going to end this video here because it's already too long. So let me know what you want me to review next time, and goodbye.